Welcome to Lesson 8 of How to Understand 85% of Quranic Vocabulary series. As you should know by now that we're using this chart of verb forms to divide the most frequently used verbs in the Quran. And with the grace of Allah, we have successfully learned all the regular verbs that belong to verb forms, starting from the second form and up to verb form number 10. And at this point, we are about halfway through the total number of verbs that we have to learn to complete this series. The only thing that is left is learning the verbs that belong to verb form number 1. And as I explained before, verb form number 1 is the least regular form that doesn't follow one single pattern. But this doesn't mean that every verb will have its own or different forms, but rather, there will be variations of patterns within the verb form number 1. So what does that mean, to have variations within verb form number 1? This is indicated in the chart by a red letter with no short vowels on top or under it, to indicate that this letter has 3 variations. In other words, this letter can take all 3 short vowels, fatha, dhamma, and kasra. So each combination of these short vowels will represent a certain variation, and each variation will have a number of verbs that belong to them and should be learned and studied together. Let's see an example to understand how this concept works. In the original chart, we see some patterns with red letters and others without. The ones with red letters will take different short vowels, and the ones without will remain the same for all verbs that belong to form number 1, so they will not change. So now let's see variation number 1 of this form. So this means that we will have, from the first pattern, the ayn with fatha, so it will be fa'ala. And we also have fatha on the ayn in the second pattern, يفعل. And in the imperative pattern, we will have the fatha as well, and it will be افعل. The passive forms will remain the same, فعل and يفعل. And as for the gerund, it will be فعل. The other patterns will remain the same. So these combinations of patterns will represent variation number 1 of verb form number 1. Now, other variations will have other short vowels. So in variation number 2, as an example, the ayn will remain with fatha on top, but as for the present pattern, it will have dhamma, so it will be يفعل. And the same thing for the imperative form, and it will be أفعل. And as for the gerund, it will be فعل or فعل, with fatha or kasra under the fa. And there are of course other variations with different short vowels on top or under the red letters. Now naturally, these short vowels are not randomly placed on top or under the letter. They represent a number of verbs that follow this pattern. So how many variations do we have to learn in total? There are in total 7 variations within verb form number 1. And bear in mind that 1 or 2 verbs will not follow the rules exactly. But I did my best to cluster the closest verbs together so that it would be easier for you to study them in groups and remember them together. And today, we will learn the first variation, variation number 1. فعل, يفعل, افعل, فعل. So let's get started. And the first verb is فتح, which means to open, to judge, or to give victory. And we see it used with this meaning in these examples. ربنا افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. Another example with a different meaning. فلما نسوا ما ذكروا به فتحنا عليهم أبواب كل شيء. The next verb is بعث, which means to send or to resurrect, like in these examples. ثم بعثناكم من بعد موتكم لعلكم تشكرون. Another example. كان الناس أمة واحدة فبعث الله النبيين مبشرين ومنذرين. The next verb is جعل, and it means to make, like in this example. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Next is جَمَعَ, which means to gather. We see it used in this example. ربنا إنك جامع الناس ليوم لا ريب فيه إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد. The next verb is رفع, and it means to raise, like in this example. وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَاعِيلُ رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا. The next verb is سَحَرَ, which means to enchant or to bewitch. We see it used in this example. فَلَمَّا أَلْقَوْا سَحَرُوا أَعْيُنَ النَّاسِ واسترهبوهم وجاءوا بسحر عظيم. The next verb is لَعَنَ, which means to curse. We see it used in this example. إن الذين يكتمون ما أنزلنا من البينات والهدى من بعد ما بيناه للناس في الكتاب أولئك يلعنهم الله ويلعنهم اللاعنون. The next verb is نفع, which means to benefit. We see it used with this meaning in this example. يومئذ لا تنفع الشفاعة إلا من أذن له الرحمن ورضي له قولا. The next verb is ذهب, which means to go or to do away. And we see it used in the following examples. إن يشأ يذهبكم أيها الناس ويأت بآخرين. and we see it used with the other meaning in this example. قالوا يا أبانا إنا ذهبنا نستبق وتركنا يوسف عند متاعنا فأكله الذئب. And finally is the verb صلح, and it means to make amends or to act righteously. Like in this example. وَالَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَلَن يُضِلَّ أَعْمَالَهُمْ سَيَهْدِيهِمْ وَيُصْلِحُ بَالَهُمْ. And finally, don't forget to check out the description for the PDF file of this lesson, as well as the printable version if you want to print it out. And also, don't forget to check out our Memrise page, which contains all the vocabulary lists that we have covered before. Thanks for watching. I hope you've learned something new today. If you did, please like and share the video for other people to learn from it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Lesson 9.